What up, everybody? Welcome to Music Blueprint, where we teach you how to make money. And today's podcast is about how much money does it take to break an artist. There's a lot of conspiracies around there of how much money it takes, and it takes a lot, especially in the US. And so we're going to break it down. But first, please, if you've liked any of these videos or you like what we're about to talk about, please like and subscribe, or maybe even share this video. That's my little tidbit. Moving on, how much does it take to break an artist? The rumor is it takes about $500,000 to $2 million. And the breakdown of that is this. First, and we're talking about major labels here. We're not talking about smaller labels, and we're not even necessarily talking about independent artists. I think there's some costs that you can cut as an independent artist. Lauv is a great example of that. He did everything in his bedroom, really cheap, signed to Cobalt. Cobalt only takes 20% of his publishing, probably made $1 bajillion because he wasn't signed to a major label. So, but anyways, that's a side note. According to theory for major labels, and I've gone deep into the Google archives on this topic, is the first amount, the reason why it costs so much is because of the advance. The advance is typically $50,000 to $350,000. The reason why it costs so much to jumpstart an artist is because you have a few things that help catapult them in the marketing side, in the quality of sound side. The only thing that the money is not going to related to that would be your advance. So my suggestion would be is that you take a smaller advance so that you recoup your deal faster, because if you only are spending $500,000, that's much easier to recoup than $2 million. But again, you just have to know your situation and what you can get out and what your deal is. It might be better for you to take $2 million up front and then you're like, no, you're going to make a ton of money on streaming and all these different things. Like, it might be good, but just remember, it's a loan. You're taking out a loan and you got to pay it back. Okay, so the advance is usually $50,000 to $350,000. Just depends on the artist, depends on the already built-in audience that you have. Today, it is not really about, or it is only about how much following you have, and that is what's going to give you leverage. If you don't have any leverage, unfortunately, it's going to be really difficult for you to even talk to a label to get a deal like this. So then you're kind of on your own. But if you're on your own and you have an investor or have somebody that just has a crap ton of money, you could still make this work. So, second thing is recording costs. Now, I don't know why recording costs is so high, because literally I could have a 10 to 12 album or 10 to 12 song album and pay about $2,000 to $3,000 per track. And that would put me at anywhere from like 20 to 30K. And they're saying it's going to cost $150,000 to $500,000, which in label terms on the major labels, you know, people charge a lot on the label side. Like, my price to an independent artist is a lot cheaper than my price to a label because they have a crap ton of money. But that doesn't negate that actually their quality is a higher standard most of the time. But I think we're getting closer and closer to the fact that actually you don't need a studio. You don't need to go to Record Plant, East West Studios to get a good record anymore. You could just do it in your bedroom because the in-home sound gear is so banging that you don't need all the stuff anymore. So to me, this is where a lot of costs can be cut, because I personally have made banging songs for literally like $1,500. So I just don't understand that side. But again, if you're signing with a label, they're hopefully putting you with the best of the best. That means that you're not just paying the all-you-can-eat payment for production, master, and mixing. I said that in a weird order, but that's fine. You're paying individuals for that. So you would pay a production person probably $5,000 to $10,000. You would pay a mixing person $5,000. You pay a master person $1,000. So all the cost is going up significantly higher, which is why I think they're getting that $150,000 to $500,000 range, which in theory, hopefully, would make your music sound better. In theory. That doesn't always work. It doesn't always work that way, but that's okay. I have heard some really expensive records sound like hot trash. So, and I think the radio is proof of that. If you listen to the radio, there are some songs that you're like, how in the heck did this get on the radio? This is literally boiling garbage. Why is this on there? And so just because you're paying more does not mean you're actually getting better quality. And I know so many people that are just banging in the industry that could literally make your song sound radio ready, and they're not going to charge that much. So, okay, so second, or I guess third, because if you count advanced. So third, we'll go third. Third reason is video production. So all these songs that you're releasing need content with it. They need visuals with it. And it's not just visuals as in like the music video. It's actually like lyric videos as well. Or possibly it could also mean like promo videos, and like it's just a whole series of things to help promote for your song and your release of your song. Also, different platforms have different formats that you need to do. So like Vivo probably has a different format than just something that you're posting on your YouTube page. So you need to know all those things, and you need to have the right people to do all of those things. Again, we're getting into the day and age where people can do it themselves, but video production does cost a lot. And this, it says $50,000 to $300K. That doesn't sound too extreme to me, honestly. From how the major music video productions go, I don't find that to be that much money. I really don't. Like, you think about Katy Perry's video, like E.T. or Teenage Dream, or all of these videos. Like, Teenage Dream actually didn't have that much of crazy, like, costumes and all this stuff like California Girls did, but it's still the video quality of that content, even if that song was garbage, which it wasn't. But let's say it was, for just to be the devil's advocate, let's say that song was trash. The video itself was such quality that you would still get views on that video just because the actual quality, it was probably shot in like 4K. I mean, even back then, and that was like, back then 4K was not a thing. So, video production does cost a lot. It is a big expense, but there's also things like Bruno Mars' song, what's it called? The Day I Don't Feel Like Doing Anything. That song. He actually had another video that he spent like $250,000, I think it was, or something like that. A crap ton of money, basically, on this video production. The label hated it, and he said, okay, look, I know we spent all this money, but can you give me $10,000 and I'll make a video that's better? And then he made that video with all the monkeys and they're dancing and all that stuff, and it's like a one-shot music video. And he made that with $10K. So a lot of times money doesn't necessarily have to be spent if you're more creative. So for me, one of the things I realized is that my fans love one-shot videos. So I started doing one-shot videos, and I just became really, really clever on how I did them. For instance, I have a song called Trip. And so I did a one-shot video in a roller rink with my friends, and we were all rollerblading, but it's like four-wheelers now. They don't even have blades anymore. And I'm like, who the heck? Like, this ain't the 80s. Like, nobody's on four-wheelers anymore. Everybody now is blading. It was like so weird. So anyways, we're on four-wheelers, and the song's called Trip, and we are just like almost falling over each other. People are falling behind us because they're on four-wheelers. Like, it was really funny. But it was just a one-shot video around the roller rink of me lip singing to my song, and it was just fun and like good content. People enjoyed it. It was a good time. But that's an example of, you can be really creative and find an easy, or cheap, I shouldn't say easy, cheaper way of doing something without having to spend so much money. So, okay, number 4, tour support. This, Honestly, out of all the things, this is what I would spend the most money on if you're a dope performer. So for me, my 10,000 hours is in performing. That is where I live and crush it. So to me, all the money would need to be spent on this. And right now, they only have it at 50,000 to 150,000, which I'm like, I mean, that sounds reasonable, but also I'm like, if we got to spend more money to get with bigger artists, like we got to spend more money. And the reason why they have this is a lot of big artists, they don't let people just open for them. Labels pay the big artists to allow their smaller artists to open for them in hopes of exposure. So a lot of times that will cost $100,000 to be on a full tour with another artist, or it'll cost $50,000 to get on with an artist, or $20K and then you build your way up, or like maybe they spread it out and you like spend 10K, 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 20K, 30K, 100K, and then collectively you're on a tour for 2 years, but it's with different artists and you paid on and blah, 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 blah. My biggest moments where I've collected the most following, other than like random like viral videos or something like that, my biggest grab has always been at a show. So for me, like when I play a show, I know I can really connect with people because that's my jam. And so I'm like, cool, there's 500 people in the room. I know I'm going to walk away with at least 250 followers. Like I just know it because I've done this so long and I've seen the results and I've watched the analytics, and that's how it goes down like every single time. So to me, I would spend more money here than probably almost everywhere else. There is one category that I would probably spend more in, which is number 5, marketing and promotion. Marketing is the key. Like, unfortunately or fortunately, it just depends how you look at it. If you're a new age person, you're like, yay, marketing. If you're like more old school, you're like, boo, marketing. But marketing is where it's at. And actually, I read something or heard something the other day that I found very interesting, in that marketing has always been around. We just didn't call it that from the beginning. And somebody told the story about Michelin. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but there is, for restaurants, there's Michelin stars. And you always want to go to the restaurant that is Michelin star rated. Well, what's weird is like, that's a tire company. Why is a tire company rating on restaurants? That makes no sense. Well, what happened is back in the day when Michelin first started, they were a tire company, but people weren't really driving as much then. They weren't driving to go out of town. They weren't going on trips. They weren't doing none of that. And so people weren't having to get tires as frequently. So Michelin was like, how do we get people to use more tires? Well, they started to go to restaurants. They said, well, why don't we find restaurants that are outside of the city in the middle of a bungalow that would convince people in the major cities to go travel and check out. And it'd be like far away. So, then that would be them using their tires more, whatever. So they would go to these outer places in like the boondocks of wherever they were at. And they would say, oh, the best petite filet is in this little bungalow, like right outside of London. So, and then they would release a whole list of the Michelin star rated restaurants. And then people in London would be like, oh, we got to go check this restaurant out this weekend, honey. This looks amazing. It's Michelin rated. And so then people started driving more out of the city and using more tires, which then would give them more opportunities to sell to people. So, and that is marketing in its most perfect form, is that you create something that people need, and you create either the opportunity for them to need it more. And that is what marketing is all about. And so, in today's day and age, marketing trumps all. I know I've mentioned like with touring, I made like most of my following, but I said a little tidbit in there, other than the videos, like content that I've created that did really well, those created the most exposure, which also created the most financial opportunity for me. And if you're going to have the opportunity to spend $500,000 to $2 million, either on your own or with a label, you got to start making a lot of money. And what I have found with the best return of investment is in marketing, but you have to put it to the right place and the right people, because it can get spent really fast on just stupidness. Like I spent money on blogging and like promo, and I'm like, that didn't really work. But then I spent money on marketing and playlisting, and that worked really well. So you just got to find the right people. It takes time to like test people out, but I would definitely not put all your eggs in a basket, because I have done that before where I was like, oh, these people seem great. It seems like we really have things aligned. And then I was like, yeah, I'll do a 6-song thing with you guys. $12,000 later, still no return of investment at all. So be really smart about what you pick. And if you find somebody that you think you like, do a one-off. See if that's successful. If it's not successful, then kind of let it go and try something new. So the other thing I will say about this is that Cardi B is one of the people that I have heard kind of self-started her music career. And according to her, she spent about $750,000 of her own money, I believe. I think that's the story. You can fact check me. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But nonetheless, it took like $750,000, whether it's her money or someone else's, to jumpstart her career. And I believe she funded it all herself, because I believe she funded it with stripping. I'm pretty sure that's the story, or at least that's the story that's being fabricated. So it can be done, hopefully with not you stripping, but maybe with you stripping, who knows. But if you can get the right investors and the right people, it's always a better situation for you to be independent and stay independent, because if you can build that following on your own, then you have leverage to where when you do go to the label, because there's not really an artist to date other than possibly Russ, which Russ still isn't selling out the Staples Center. So like if you're a person that wants to sell out stadiums, you're gonna have to link up with a label. It's just inevitable at right now. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I've yet to see it. But you'll get a better label deal if you have better leverage. So good luck out there. If you like this video at all, please comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever. That would be so awesome. And I hope to see you guys next week, where we're going to talk about more stuff on how to make you guys money. So peace.